And so it's my distinct honor to be here to introduce our featured speaker for this afternoon. Also, thank Kayla Dunleavy for a wonderful job on the slideshow. So I am here to present the Dorothy Eldridge Peacemaker Award. To our guest of honor, human rights activist Asma Elhuni, who has been tireless in working for Palestinian liberation, fighting against xenophobia, Islamophobia, and state-sanctioned violence. Our honoree's organizing work is extensive. She's the lead organizer for a nationwide project of the nonprofit Race Forward called Honest Education, Action, and Leadership Heal Together Initiative, launched to promote, protect, and transform public education. Elhuni served as Movement Politics Director for Rights and Democracy in New Hampshire, organizing, training organizers, conducting political education to help impacted communities have access to political decision-making processes. She was the point of contact in northern New Hampshire for Customs and Border Patrol checkpoints and other CBP ICE apprehension issues. For her contributions to advancing and protecting civil rights, she was recognized by the DPW of New Hampshire with their Bill of Rights Award. While earning her degree in political science from Georgia State University, Elhuni was the recipient of the university's Martin Luther King Jr. Humanitarian Award for her work on behalf of groups marginalized by society, promoting and belonging and inclusion at the university. While serving as CARE Georgia Outreach Director, she was invited by Representative Hank Johnson to attend President Trump's first address to Congress. In her words, "I am here to remind Donald Trump, Steve Bannon, and every other anti-Muslim, anti-Hispanic, anti-immigrant, anti-refugee extremist that we too are Americans." Currently and locally, Elhuni is an organizer with American Muslims for Palestine, New Jersey, leading the advocacy for Palestine and supporting intersectional organizing for justice. In honor of her impactful career, rooted in issues of immigrant rights, racial, economic, and educational justice, New Jersey Peace Action is proud to present Asma Elhuni with our Dorothy Eldridge Peacemaker Award.
I'm honored, and I promise you, I am not nearly as interesting as what you just heard. Putting that out there, I'm humbled. And when I told my husband I was getting this award, he stops going to my events, by the way. But when I told him I was getting this award, he's like, "Why are you getting this award?" Thank you. It's like, why are you getting this award? And I was like, well, what do you mean? Why am I getting this award? And he's like, "You've never done anything alone. It's always other people that are just as loud as you. They're going out and doing the same work more than what you are doing. So why are you getting this award?" And you know, I stopped and I thought, oh my God, he's like so right. That's so true. So honestly, I just want to say this award here is the People's Award, because there's nothing that we won, that we've done together, that we could have done alone. So we're setting up here. Oh, are we ready? So I'm just going to tell you to go, and then you do? Yeah. Okay. Oh, so I have a clicker? Yes. Oh, done. Okay. All right.
You're in charge.
Thank you so much. So, also while I'm getting myself together, I have to say, not too long ago, maybe about 2 months months ago, I was invited by my job to go to the NEA conference in Michigan. Was anybody there? Okay, so basically it's a yearly event, an annual event where teachers from across the country come together, and I was a speaker doing a training there. And then there was part 2 of the conference, and it was the NEA's retiree conference. And boy, let me just tell you, the retirees of our community are the most untapped resource. I'm not kidding, for real. Because they were telling me we're not doing enough. We need to chain ourselves to the government, like the governor's desk. So, and it was you all who paved the way and really passed policies that we are benefiting from today. And it is you all who are actually seeing before your eyes some of these things get rolled back, right? And so I just want to say I stand before you honored, humbled, and I want to thank you. And I do think that I'm lucky to be speaking to you, and I'm hoping to tap into this. I feel like what people aren't tapping enough into, because y'all have time, you have the energy, you have the knowledge, you have the experience, right? So you're actually one of the best people to be talking to take part in action. So I'm honored to be here. So I'm just going to tell you thank you so much. I'm humbled. A little bit about myself. So my name is Asma Elhuni. I'm an immigrant to this country. I came to the United States on asylum. My father, I was born in Libya. My father was a judge in Libya. My mother was working in an orphanage. She ran an orphanage actually in Libya. And then when we came to the United States, my father sold coffee on the streets of New York. Sometimes he also cleaned cars. And my mother cleaned hotel rooms. And sometimes worked in factories. And the last job she had was in a cafeteria classroom. And all that to say, the United States was not a step up for my family. And also, when I was a child, while most people worried about what happens in this country, as a child, I had to go through watching the country that I lived in, the U.S., bomb the country that I was born in, Libya. And so I had family there, I still have family there. And also to really witness how my people were vilified, right? And then as an adult, not many years ago, I had to come to terms with the fact that my cousins, who are not alive today, because they advocated for a government in their own country. The West disapproved of this, and they were called, I'm not even going to say what they were called. But let's just say there was a bomb that was shot on a building, and my cousin died, and there was another cousin who died. Again, just believing in a form of government in their own countries, and then we claim that we want to help people and create democracy in our country, and that is not happening because we don't allow them to. Okay. Anyway, in this country, I was told I was a foreigner when I was younger, and sometimes even today. And then I visit Libya, my country, and I was told I was Embekia. If you don't know what that means too American. So where did I belong? Eventually I realized I was not misplaced or missing, but I was a bridge. So a bridge for people who can't tell their stories because of racist policies that keep them from coming here. I have a hard time keeping up with my notes, I'm sorry. So bridges have a unique ability to be translators, connectors, truth tellers, and we carry within us the radical possibility that everyone deserves to thrive, that our grief matters, that our identities are not just to be tolerated but should be celebrated, and that all people across the globe deserve safety, deserve to be free from exploitation or paying off world banks at the price of schools, hospitals, and clean water so a few can stay rich while whole nations stay in debt. So before I begin my talk about the systems we're up against and the power we hold, I want to ground us in a truth that none of these struggles happen in isolation, and none of them happen without land. So let's begin by honoring the land we're on and the indigenous people who continue to resist colonial violence every day.
Here, here.
So, all right, so let's see how it's going.
Is it out here?
So, I could just start with next. Do you want to do my next first?
Sure. There you go.
There you go. So we begin by acknowledging that we are gathered together on traditional lands and territories of the Lenape people and their descendants living on Turtle Island, a native name for North American continent. Our society and our racial hierarchy in the United States are built upon stolen indigenous lands, broken treaties with indigenous nations, and domination over native peoples on the Turtle Islands. We also acknowledge that our nation has benefited from the uncompensated and exploited labor represented in the legacy of slavery and the present-day reality of exploited labor, including the labor of our undocumented community members. Okay, next slide. So who could read this for us really loud? Oh. Go ahead, it's in the pink.
Freedom is never given voluntarily by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed.
Nice, thank you. And then that's right. You gentlemen in the hat?
Power without love is reckless and abusive. Love without power is sentimental and anemic.
That's right. So this is some quotes by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And it's a reminder that organizing is how love becomes power, and that we never just get things because we're right, or things, we should get them just because things are right, right? So we have to actually fight for collective liberation. Okay, so we can go on to the next slide. Sorry, I want to work for me. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is a slide where we're talking about dictators only rule with our permission. And so, as you see here, tyrants rise when people are isolated. And as you know, this society teaches a lot of individualism, right? But we're stronger together. There is power in numbers. Systems of control depend on our consent, whether active or passive. So when you're doing or saying nothing, you've actually chosen or have chosen to consent to the current structures and the practices that you are seeing and living out. But history shows us when people withdraw that consent, regimes can crumble. From apartheid South Africa, we witness, and the possibility of Palestine. We see it refusing to allow, in our communities, refusing to allow ICE to pick up our neighbors and community members. And just wanted to remind everyone, this is not just a one-party problem, it's the system. So let's remember that Obama deported more people than any other president before him. Let's remember that Biden expanded ICE surveillance and approved weapons for Israel's war on Gaza. Let's remember that the Democrats have voted for increased border funding and backed legislation that silences Palestinian solidarity. Even under so-called progressive leadership, detention centers stayed open and corporate profits have grown. So we must remember, no matter who is in office, the people must be in power. All right, yeah, I'm sorry. So just wanted to remind us, we live in a world where a handful of billionaires fund wars, they buy politicians, and profit off deportations and displacement. We know that Elon Musk profits from border surveillance tech. Musk's companies receive lucrative government contracts with the Department of Homeland Security, which obviously oversees Customs, Border Patrol, and ICE. Elon Musk's company Starlink for the mission operations, which means Musk's Companies profit from militarized border enforcement. And we have groups like AIPAC sending millions to crush progressive candidates who support Palestinian human rights, and other groups like the ADL who support apartheid and uphold empire under the guise of protecting against anti-Semitism and bigotry, while promoting and paying for U.S. police officers to go to Israel and get trained and bring out back that training to face BIPOC communities in the United States. And then we have billionaire lobbyists protecting fighting against immigration. Here we see Geo and CoreCivic, who profit tremendously by putting bodies in their cages. They have a huge incentive to punish, to arrest, and throw folks in jail and detention centers because they're literally making money off of putting human beings in cages.
That's right.
We know that Delaney, after being closed for safety reasons, has just reopened, right, this cage for immigrants, right? And they're making billions off of this facility. So what we're seeing is not separate issues, it's a single system, a system where billionaires fund wars overseas, profit from surveillance and incarceration at home, and spend millions to silence any movement that threatens their grip on power. Empire, borders, billionaires are all a part of the same machinery. But here's the truth, they don't want us to believe. Their power depends on our silence.
That's right.
And when we organize across race, across class, across borders, we become more powerful than any billionaire. That's why we're here. Because people organize is how we fight back and it's how we win. And now I'll go over some of the attacks and what they look like. Before I go on to the next slide, maybe, actually I can go on because the information is not on there. I'd like to ask a question, why is Palestine so important? Why is this such a big deal? There's conflicts everywhere, but why is Palestine so important? Yes, Mira, and congratulations, Mira.
Your roles that we are, because I've had to argue with people on the street about this, and they're all important, but we are funding it, and we are supplying the weapons, and the weapons, money from the weapons is going to our politicians, and so it's this vicious circle. So they are benefiting, like you said, from the genocide.
Absolutely, so thank you for lifting that up. The fact that we are actually actively responsible for funding the genocide that is murdering, killing innocent people is one of the reasons why this is such a very important issue to lift up, because we are responsible for it in a very direct way. So thank you for that. Let's see here. So there is a reason why the entire global south is in solidarity with Palestine.
Here, here.
Because Israel represents the empire and the wealthy world, where the empire is literally doing whatever it can, including bombing whole populations, murdering children, and will stop at nothing to secure their thievery, their unlimited resources, and their exploitation. What we are seeing, ladies and gentlemen, is an entire world order being played out before our eyes. The empires, the wealthy nations, are once again demanding security without peace and justice. Netanyahu himself said, Israel, please back Israel, because Israel's fight is your fight. He is talking to who? The empires, right? Because they want to make sure they can continue to exploit people and still demand security despite what they're doing, the exploitation, the rape of land, the theft of resources. And if they lose it, if Israel loses, it would mean other world powers no longer get to keep their immunity.
Here, here.
So what we know locally, the implications are also reaching us as well. So it's not just something that happens in a different place. This is also impacting us here. We're seeing the crackdown on solidarity that threatens empire. not just abroad, but here at home. The push for the IRA definition of anti-Semitism, which falsely equates criticism of Israel with hate speech, especially weaponizing anti-Semitism against Palestinian advocates. They are silencing student organizers. They've arrested a dear friend of mine, Mohsen Hadawi, if you know him. He was let go because of, again, people power. They are criminalizing protests, and they are removing our First Amendment rights to free speech. Now there's actually a U.S. House resolution trying to criminalize from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, which is, if you don't know, it's just a call for a one-state solution, similar to how we say Black Lives Matter, where when we say Black Lives Matter, we're not saying that white lives don't, right? But in this case, we're saying that people that live between the Jordanian River and the Mediterranean Sea that are Palestinians do not have equal rights, and that they should. So what's happening to Palestinians is connected to what's happening to immigrants, to the Black community, to indigenous communities, and to all of us organizing for justice. This isn't just about repression abroad, it's repression at home. And they are trying to break our spirit to try to divide us and to destroy our right to dissent. But I have to remind everyone, we are actually the majority. And when we rise together in solidarity across borders and across struggles, we don't just defend our rights, we fight to dismantle empire itself. All right. Okay, so how white supremacy protects billionaire power through immigration policy. So immigration policy in the US has always been about protecting the interests of the wealthy. And white supremacy is the tool they use to do it. From the very beginning, immigration laws were designed to control who could enter, who could stay, and who could be exploited. The goal was never safety, it was never fairness, it was always profit and power. Take the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, the first major immigration law, which banned Chinese laborers, while US businesses still use their labor to build railroads. Or look at how today the Latinx or the Black immigrants are over-policed, over-surveillance, and not just Black immigrants, the Black community are over-policed, over-surveillance, over-detained. Black immigrants make up just about 7% of the non-citizen population, but they account for 20% of the deportations tied to criminal charges. This system criminalizes Blackness, poverty, migration from the global South, and it does so to serve the same billionaires who own detention centers, surveillance companies, and exploit immigrant labor. White supremacy keeps the working class divided, and it tells the middle class everything is fine because you're doing a little better than the others. While in reality, I know a lot of you are middle class here, you are still struggling, and I know you're still in debt. So they're trying to convince people that they have a little bit, and so you're fine, so stay quiet, basically, right? But billionaires are also stealing from all of you. But when we fight for immigrant justice, we're fighting to unite the working class, the so-called middle class. I don't believe you have a middle class, truly, right? Across race, borders, and we take our power back from the top 1%. Okay. So, here we have, you've probably seen this video, disappeared by ICE, state violence in our community. So ICE agents often operate in plain clothes, using unmarked vehicles and masks to abduct people from their homes, streets, and workplaces. These are state-sanctioned kidnappings, let's remember that, targeting undocumented immigrants, often without due process. Families are left with no information, no contact, and often have no way to locate their loved ones, and oftentimes they call us with resistencia They called us to try to figure out where their loved ones were taken. And by the way, the Estancia just walks in. So they call us to find their loved ones when their family members are detained. This is psychological warfare used to instill fear and destabilize our communities. You could see some of them will wear masks. Why would they wear masks?
So they can't be identified.
Right? They don't want to be identified. Why?
Because they're doing evil things.
Yeah, they're breaking the law. And I just want to just share really quickly. The word criminal and laws, not all laws are ethical, and I want us to remember that. And I know you guys lived through that because you were among the people that actually changed some of those laws. So I know I'm talking to people who know what I'm talking about. But everyone is so glued to the law. But in reality, not all laws are ethical laws, and some of them actually need to be broken in order to be contested and changed. We're good. All right, so now we're going to talk about privatization. Well, before we do, let me ask a question. Anybody want to share with me why privatization is so harmful? Yes.
Takes away our rights for teachers, definitely.
Okay, it takes away your rights as teachers. Right, why? When you have private schools, what happens?
We have no ability to organize into unions. So they can just do whatever they want. They can keep you after school, they can have you work through lunch.
They can pay you crap money.
That's it.
Okay.
They don't follow the regulations that if it's a school, there's certain regulations that
They don't have
public
to follow.
schools have for disabled students.
Right.
The private schools don't have to follow that.
Absolutely, yes. And I'll pick somebody here next. Yes, Mayor.
Well, privatization, the motivation is money and profit.
There it is.
So whether it is you have a prison or an ICE detention center, they want to keep them filled, maximize the profit.
Right?
Profit over people, absolutely. And does, yes,
We lose accountability.
there you go. That's the word I'm looking for. Everybody's right on point, and we lose accountability, right? You hit the nail on the head. So, the word privatization means the transfer of business, of industry, of service from publicly owned. All these things that you see here that are publicly owned are actually owned by us because we put people in power. Oh, there you go. We put people in power that we choose to there's accountability, right? But privatization is when these things are taken from the public and they're given to private ownership. That means individuals and groups will now own them. And we talked about all the reasons why this is not good, including the fact that I definitely believe in public education as a cornerstone of our democracy. It is a place where all our children are forced to be with other people that are different than them. Private schools get to decide who gets to be in those classrooms.
Yep.
So we'll never get to true multiracial democracy through that, right? So it's vital that we understand that there is an intentional movement to privatize everything, and we really need everything to be public. We want public beaches, we want public libraries, public schools, so on and so on. Because when these resources are privatized, we the people not only lose equitable access to them, but we really allow the billionaire extremists to push their own anti-democratic beliefs and agendas at our taxpayer dollars oftentimes. All right. There we go. Let's put some faces to these billionaires. So this is just unmasking some billionaires behind attacks. Not only are some of these billionaires influencing how we think about public goods, right? They're putting their money behind it, and they have an economic motive. What's not in this picture are our millionaires in Congress. We have those as well. The economic motive is represented by entrepreneurs eager to capitalize on as much of the market sector as possible. But don't worry, we'll talk about some of our Congress people now. Before I do, does anyone know which Congress member in the United States has the most amount of trade stocks in defense and security, and basically weapons? Damn. That's right. Yo, like literally, look, he's literally #1 right there. So the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft found that at least 37 members, by the way, 37 members of Congress and their relatives traded between $24 to $113 million worth of stock in companies listed on Defense and Security Monitor's Top 100 Defense Contractors Index. As the Quincy Institute noted, 8 of these members even simultaneously held positions at the Armed Services and Foreign Affairs Committees. The committees oversees defense policy and foreign relations. Members of Congress that oversee the annual defense bill and are privy to intelligence briefings and have an upper hand in predicting future stock prices. The analysis found that one Democratic congressman accounted for the vast bulk of defense stock trading in 2024, and you all said it, he is a man who is running for governor as a Democrat. Representative Josh Gottheimer of New Jersey traded at least $22 million and as much as $104 million worth of shares in companies on the index. And guess what? He sits on both the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence and the National Security Subcommittee of the Committee on Financial Services. So our lawmakers literally have a huge investment and interest in keeping wars alive and supporting war. They're making huge money off of killing our people. And so the billionaires that we talked about earlier, they're funding advocacy organizations, they're funding think tanks, legislation and elections, communication and litigation at every single level, on the local level, the state and federal. And it makes the destruction of a multiracial democracy where everyone thrives impossible. And I will say, we do not have a democracy, but the hope of the democracy is clearly still alive. We've never had a democracy here, but we still have hope that we can get there one day. They have a political strategy, electing candidates that will carry their water, and legislative strategy. Once their candidates are in office, they help them pass policies, literally think tanks that will just hand them policies, and legislative strategy. And they use, again, policies and also cultural warfare. You all know the culture wars that they use. All right, but no single person can dismantle a detention center, stop a war, or take on billionaires alone. That's by design. The system isolates us. It tells us change is about personal choices or voting a few years, but history shows the opposite. Real power is collective. That's right. You can clap for that. Feel that to your core. Real power is collective power. When people come together, organized, strategic, and united, we shut down pipelines, we end apartheid, we win labor strikes, we free people from cages. Power doesn't live in one person, it lives in people when we move together. And so here, I'm an organizer. I don't want to give my age, but I've been organizing since 9/11. And there's always strategy. And so the idea is, in order for us to win things, we need to know who our targets are. Once we find out who our targets are, those who are targets, by the way, those who can give us what we need, right? Then we need to apply pressure. So it doesn't happen with one event, it doesn't happen with one rally, it doesn't happen with meetings. And I know I'm talking to some people who are organizers here who know this. But it's continuous pressure, and we call this an escalation timeline. As you can see, it starts here, and then we escalate. You never want to start with a sit-in, at least in best practices, because then what are you left with, right? You want to start off, and you want to apply pressure. So maybe you start off with an email to someone, hey, you really need to vote no on this weapons deal. You really need to vote no on opening detention centers, right? Maybe you start with the email, and then the next thing is the meeting. That's what Resistencia is, what we did in Princeton. So we start off with an email, Mayor Frida, we really need to talk with you. Ignored us. Again, Mayor Frida, Richard is laughing because he's the one who sent the email. Mayor Frida, we really, really want to talk to you. Nothing happens. Again, and then he's like, hey, Richard says to him, May Day is coming up Tuesday, and we want to talk to you before Tuesday. Would you like to talk to us? Because we really, really want to talk to you. We got our meeting. So we got our meeting, and then what? Maybe you have people write op-eds. That's a form of pressure. The op-eds are targeting the target. Remember, who can give us what we need? The continuous pressure. With that continuous pressure, what we want to happen is for them to like dream about us. To be like, hey, these guys are not going away. This isn't just a one-time event. They're gonna keep at it until we give them what they want. Because power does not concede, right? You have to like literally take it. So op-ed, and then maybe you're flyering, maybe you have a petition. If you're doing a petition, maybe you want to gather more signatures than their win number, because that'll scare the hell out of them. Figure out how much they won their votes by, and then get more signatures than that. That'll get their attention. So rallies, keep doing the rallies, not just phone banking, right? Sit-ins. So there's so many things you can do to apply pressure. I also want to share that all of you can be leaders in different ways. Not everyone is going to be a Mira, okay, or a me, or a Rochelle, and go out to protest in the front lines and scream and yell. Not everyone is made to do that, and that's okay. But I'm here to tell you, there's a place for you. There is a place for you. So I just put up some things up here, and I want you to find yourself in the movement. If you're an artist, I know I don't have it up there. Oh, actually, we have zines up there. If you're an artist, maybe one of the things you do is you'll create zines for us. Zines are like little comic books that teach people about what's going on, right? Maybe you're a musician and you help with, at our rallies, you come and bring the music, right? Maybe you want to, like you're like me, I'm a high risk taker and I actually like actions. I will do like rallies and sit-ins or, shut down streets. That's where I thrive, but not everyone does, and that is okay. Maybe you'll have silent actions where, I don't know, the governor's speaking and you're mad at him, and instead of yelling, you're gonna stand up and turn your back. That's also safe, and there's so many ways of resisting, right? Community forums. People are running for office, invite them and say, we'd like to have a community forum. And instead of you being the center, we're gonna be the center because you need to listen to us and our concerns. Street theater is a very creative way to share what's happening. So it's kind of like using theater to share what's going on. In one of the colleges, they were organizing against sexual assault, and one of the ways they use street theater is they literally put a bed out, and somebody sat on the bed, and people got curious, and why do you have a bed out here? And let me share. A school refuses to address sexual assault. And so that's a creative way, right? And so there's many different creative actions you can do. And so these are just some. If this is not your thing, maybe you're a lawyer, you want to just do legal stuff for folks. Maybe you want to do behind the scenes jail support. Like, I can't be out there, but I'll tell you what, if someone gets arrested, I'm happy to keep calling the jail and say, hey, when will they get out? How much money is needed for bail, etc. So all that to say, there is a place for you in the movement. Find it and plug in.
Woo! Yeah.
All right, so really fast, I want to share with you what one of the groups that I help on a national level has done. So this is a group in North Carolina, and what they did is they organized around school district campaigns. But they're only in 6 districts in North Carolina. And Moms for Liberty really took the narrative in that state. And they don't represent the majority, but the news kept putting them up. And And this group basically said, you know what? They don't represent all of us. They are getting all this attention. We got to figure out a way to organize everyone. We're only in 6 districts. So they had a call and they invited whoever wanted to come. And what they found were the people that were on the call were coming from districts where they were the only people in that district. And so that's why this campaign was born, which is called Public School Strong. And Public School Strong is basically where they're like, all right, you don't know how to organize? We're organized, we're gonna teach you how to do it. We're gonna teach you how to create a team. You're gonna hold that team. We'll give you some education on how to speak to at school boards, etc. And so today, out of 100 counties, they have 78 teams. And then another group that we support, Tennessee, was like, yo, that model sounds amazing. Let's bring this to Tennessee. We're trying to kill this voucher in this conservative state. There's no way we'll kill it. But guess what? If we create these teams, maybe we'll be able to kill it. And in those teams, they passed resolutions against vouchers. And so they did that, I think, in like 78 counties where they passed resolutions against vouchers, and they were able to defeat vouchers in this particular area, which is 2 years ago. Today, how they're using their teams is in Tennessee, they're going after immigrants. And what they're doing is using the teams that they created to kill the voucher the year before, and they're using that to pass resolutions to protect immigrants. And so that is something that we are asking you all to do. So we are asking everyone to fight back. And we want to do that by asking you to do one of, 5 things. One of 5 things. You either pick one of these or all of them, whatever, but why don't you get plugged in? We want you either to reach out to Congress about the laws they are breaking, which is we, United States. That's why I say we, even if we don't want to, we are. We're breaking, and we need to stop funding Israel. We want to say no to IRA, and I'll tell you what those laws are in a second. No to IRA, we just talked about that. We want you to join a rapid response team if you are in Montclair or in Mercerville. We want you to pass resolutions in schools to protect all students in our schools. And we want you to pass resolutions in your district to support the Immigrant Trust Act. That's a lot. Choose one and just do that. All right? But do something. Remember what we said, you're doing nothing, you're consenting to what you see in the world. So, okay, so if you want to do school board resolutions, I want Anna to please raise your hand. And Anna has a form, and just give her your name, and she will put you down, and we can talk with you about how we can pass some protections for all students. And also, if you are interested in rapid response, here is our rapid response hotline. You can write it down. And this, I'm going to show you just a quick video of our trained rapid responders and what they've done. So just, if you can just play that in form of resistance. Now I know it's So this is our rapid responders in action when ICE came out.
Excuse me. Could I have your could I have a badge? Badge number?
10329.
10329?
Yep.
Could I have your full name too? Okay. Excuse me. Can I just have your badge number and your name?
7372. Last name is Gonzalez.
Gonzalez?
Yep.
And your last name?
Gonzalez.
Oh my. Excuse me. Excuse me. Could I have your badge? Excuse me, miss.
No, thank you.
Could I have your badge number? I have the legal right to ask for your badge number and your name.
4040.
040?
Cover her face. Again, probably a
Sorry,
mom
repeat it again.
has totally disconnected herself
4040.
to the
And your name?
reality that she was about to detain a family
Okay,
member
okay.
in that van right there that was undocumented. Totally disconnected and divorced to the reality that just like she's a parent, there are other parents who have children and they're human beings just like her and they would suffer. But she's too afraid to show her face. All right, so the next slide there. Reaching out to Congress. I want Rochelle, if you can raise your hand. Higher. So here's Rochelle. If you want to write to members of Congress, we want you to ask them to stop breaking these laws. So, Section 620 Foreign Assistance Act of 1961 states that, somebody read it, nice and loud.
No assistance shall be furnished under this act or the Arms Export Control Act to any country when it is made known to the President that the government of such country prohibits or otherwise restricts, directly or indirectly, the transport or delivery of United States humanitarian assistance.
All right, that's exactly what Israel's doing. They're stopping humanitarian assistance. We have a law that says we can't support these countries, right? And let's bring the law to them, right? The next one is Rule 53. Yes.
Rule 53, the use of starvation of the civilian population as a method of warfare is prohibited. Under the statute of the International Criminal Court, intentionally using starvation of civilians as a method of warfare is a war crime in international armed conflict.
They're literally doing that. And the last one is, go ahead, Rochelle.
Israel demanding controlling how humanitarian aid is distributed, be released immediately to the humanitarian organization.
So Israel's like, oh, humanitarian aid, we'll pass it out. Really? You're going to pass out humanitarian aid to the people that you're bombing? And so you got to tell them that's a conflict of interest right there. And it's obviously a military strategy, so we don't want that. So those are the asks that we want you to ask Congress, and we also want you to really push for immigrant rights too, even on the national level. So double it up.
We have a flyer here on the Unruh Restoration Act. If you haven't already contacted the Congress people, we have loads of flyers to remind you.
All right. Thank you so much. So the system is global. So is our resistance. Let's fight like we believe we can win, because y'all, we can win. That's right. We talked today about what connects Palestine billionaires and immigration. It's empire, a system where a wealthy few who extracts, exploits, and oppresses to protect their power and their pockets, right? Billionaires fund wars, profits from borders, and uses racism to divide us. Palestine shows us how far empires can go, and people power will allow them to. Immigrant communities show us how empires work here and at home. People disappear, detained, deported, while corporations make billions off of human suffering. But we also know this: empires only work when we are silent and divided. And they know this. That's why they're trying to divide us, right? And when we come together, that's when we are strongest. So, it's all connected, and so are we. We can respond when ICE comes. We meet with lawmakers and demand an end to empire in the world, but also our very own empire here. We could defend students and public goods, people over profit, and this moment demands that we show up for Palestine, for immigrants, for each other, because none of us is free until all of us are free. So again, last thing I'm going to end with is, no matter who's in office, the people must be, we said in the beginning, no matter who's in office, the people must be in power. That's right. Thank you so much.